up, Whanau? Jimmy here, and you're watching Jimmy Games NZ. Thanks for joining me. So, we're talking about the PlayStation Classic. Now, there's only 20 games that are coming out. Fuck, only 20. You have to fit the entirety of the PlayStation 1 library into 20. So far, they've let us know of 5 games that are coming with the PlayStation Classic. Final Fantasy VII, Tekken 3, Ridge Racer Type 4, Jumping Flash, I don't know what the f that game is, and Wild Arms. I haven't played Wild Arms, so I'm not too sure what it is. I know a lot of these games are already on the PlayStation Network that you can get on your PS3, or you probably still own them. So we know of the first 5 games that are coming out on the PlayStation Classic. But what are the next 15 gonna be? So trying to compile a list, trying to cramp all that stuff in there is not gonna be easy, I'll tell you what. But hey, I've come up with a list of games that I think that should be in there. It's gonna be a bit of a weird one because I think that the way that they've picked the games are not necessarily what came out first. I think it's kind of like, it's almost first party stuff or what made the PlayStation 1 so popular. Plus also there's a lot of the remakes of these games that are coming out, so would you actually add them in even though that the remakes are coming? We'll get to that later. So in the list of 15 games that I think that should be included in the PlayStation Classic, in no particular order, number 6, Parappa the Rapper. Now I remember playing this game, it was really cool, but the thing is you can actually get it, you can download it on the PS4, it's an HD remake, but I think it was one of the staples for the PlayStation 1, so I think it should definitely be included. Resident Evil. Now here's the thing about Resident Evil, it's either 1 or 2. I reckon that 2 was probably the most popular one out of the bunch, so I would include that in the PlayStation Classic, but they've also got that remake coming out. So should you include it? Where, in terms of making it a staple, Resident Evil 1 was the scariest of the bunch because we didn't have too many horror games at the time. 1 or 2? 1 or 2? What do you reckon? Let me know! Gran Turismo. Now, there's a racing game which was a lot of fun, but probably one of the more realistic ones. If you look back now, the freaking graphics are shit. It's one of those situations again, 1 or 2, because Gran Turismo 1 made the game popular in the entire series, so technically it should be a classic, but Gran Turismo 2 was the better out of the series. It had more cars, it looked better, and it was more popular by the time. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. That game was so good. It was awesome. I played so many demos of it. It was such an awesome story-orientated game. I really love that Legacy of Kain, so I think that that should be definitely included in the PlayStation Classic list. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Now, everybody was playing that game. I played it as well. I didn't enjoy it a hell of a lot. In my mind, to put Tony Hawk on the map, everybody was skating at the time, everyone was talking about his awesome mean-ass move that was going on. In the same vein as well, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 was the better one out of the series and was the one most people played, so I reckon they should add that one to the list. Vagrant Story! Now, a lot of people didn't actually play that. Well, I don't think a lot of people actually played that game. That game was real cool. It had like Metal Gear Solid graphics, but it was made by Square, so it didn't have any voice acting in it, so it still had the speech bubbles going up. But it had a really cool story to it and very cool gaming mechanics. The thing is now, you either still own it for those who have it, or you can also get it on the PlayStation 3 network. Crash Bandicoot should definitely be in there in some way, shape or form, but the thing is we've already had the remake that's come out on the PlayStation 4, so that's included 1, 2 and 3 remaked, but it's also a staple of the series. It should actually be added onto there. So which one would you add? I reckon Crash Bandicoot 1 was the first game that I ever played on the PlayStation 1, and I think that was through a demo disc, those old Demo 1 discs. Spyro the Dragon is also in the same vein. I always looked at those two games as like a similar universe, similar world, but also we've got the remake due soon. Should they add in Spyro the Dragon even though they've got the remake coming out? Oh, Destruction Derby! I completely forgot about the Destruction Derby game. That game was one of the first racing games that I ever played on my PlayStation 1. And that game was cool. It was so much fun. It was a first time seeing like massive destruction. But Destruction Derby was, like its title, it was a Destruction Derby of cars. It was freaking great. So I think that should be definitely added onto the classic list. Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider was definitely one of those games. It was a classic example of sex sells, not high polygonage. But do you know what's funny with that? It's like sex sells, but it was also for the first time to have a, maybe not the first time, but first time in my memory where they had a very strong female protagonist in games. Definitely deserving of the list in the PlayStation Classics. but the one I remember more so, like I think I missed Tomb Raider 1. But Tomb Raider 2 I remember playing a lot as well, and it was a really cool game. It was an awesome length. Even the levels were nice, crisp and short, and you could do so much, and it was like 3D environments. Now looking back on it now, the graphics are shit. I think this is going to be a thing, eh? It's going to be like, oh, all nostalgia and all that stuff, and then you got to play it and you'll be like, well, this is shit, isn't it? It's not going to be like you remember. Well, I don't reckon it will be. So again, Tomb Raider 1 or 2? I reckon 2. Fight me, bro. Fight me. Twisted Metal! That was another cool, like, car games. It was pretty much almost like Destruction Derby, but with guns. Twisted Metal was really cool. Like, I vaguely remember, I played Twisted Metal 1, but I kind of vaguely remember it. But Twisted Metal 2 was freaking awesome. It like introduced a really cool story with every character had their own ending and all that stuff like that. Really awesome artwork from what I remember. I thought it was really cool. Now, I don't think Twisted Metal 3 got released here in Aotearoa in New Zealand. But hey, if I was going to pick out of the series, and I can't speak for 3 because I haven't played it, but I reckon Twisted Metal 2 should be added into that list. Fond memories of Twisted Metal. Fond memories of all this in general, jeez. There's all these games that I'm forgetting about. Silent Hill. The first one. Oh, well, of course it's going to be the first one. The second one was on PlayStation 2. I never completed the game, but I remember it being scary as fuck. I couldn't play through it. But I remember playing the demo of it. I remember playing that game and just freaking the fuck out. Silent Hill by Konami should definitely... Yeah, sounds yuck saying Konami. Konami. You used to make such great games. Oddworld! Abe's Odyssey. Man, that game was really cool. And like, I still have personal jokes with my friends about that as well. My favorite one is when they come across the bloody edges and they fall and they're just like... Ah! Oh, so good, so good. Oh, this is one that I forgot about, Driver. Now, the same makers that did Destruction Derby also came up with the game Driver. Now, there was a series Driver 2 and Driver 3 as well, but I remember Driver 1 just being awesome. Real simple, it was just get in your car and drive. Now, Grand Theft Auto was, I guess, a lot of its rival at the time, but I really enjoyed Driver because it still had that Grand Theft Auto underground criminal aspect to it, but it was just driving, and it also had the damage in it too. So you could tell that Destruction Derby and Driver were very similar, obviously made by the same company, but Driver was one of those games that I forgot about. So I reckon that should definitely be put on the list, no doubt at all. Wipeout! But I mean, there's a lot of racing games on this one, on this list. Wipeout should definitely be put on there. It seems like it's a PlayStation classic, definitely. Well, again, one of those ones where it has like, which one do you put up with the Wipeout series, but I think maybe stick with the first one. Racing games always seem to be the first games that come out with new consoles because I believe that they're easiest to render and stuff like that. But Wipeout should definitely be put on there. It was one of those flight racing games set in the future, and it was just really cool. Added a few weapons in some of them, but like that game was freaking mint. Should definitely be put on there. And last but not least, no particular order though, but I thought I'd save this one for last, Metal Gear Solid. Now, that should definitely be on that list, but here's the thing, just with politics and stuff like that, would it even make it onto the list? Like, it's definitely a PlayStation classic. It's my favorite game of all time. It's actually one of those games, it's actually the game that made me want to be an actor. The story was awesome in the game. You've probably played it, so you know what I'm all about. Some people don't like it, but hey, that was amazing voice acting, awesome story, great direction, Hollywood style, and you know, the graphics were shit, and it didn't matter. Metal Gear Solid should definitely be put on that list. Kept you waiting, huh? I am sure that there is so much missing off this list. There are so many more games that I would like to see in my personal list, but maybe that can be a conversation for next time. But let me know if you agree with this list. Do you agree with this list? Have I missed a few games? I probably have. But what game do you think is missing? Not Fortnite. Anyway guys, that's my list for the top 20 games that I reckon should be on the PlayStation Classic. Let me know if you agree with this list. Let me know if I've missed anything on this list or what games that you want to see on this list. Hopefully we'll find out soon, but thanks for joining me. My name's Jimmy. You're watching Jimmy Games. I'll see you next time. Peace!